What's up, guys? It's Neil, and today I kind of want to take a big step back. I want to talk about where we are because it's very easy right now, especially, to get caught up in the details of the world. Obviously, one week the most historical event is happening, and then the next week everybody forgets about it and there's something new that's even bigger, and the other week there's like bombs going off, and then there's another week where like the biggest feud on Earth, which is actually kind of happening right now. There's a lot of stuff happening. Things are moving faster than they ever have before. I don't think anybody has ever experienced change this fast. Obviously, I'm still a younger person, so I'm limited in my experience, but I've had conversations with people much older than me, and they're even saying that they haven't really experienced anything quite like this before, where things are changing super fast all the time. The narrative is completely different every single week. They don't really have any intuition as to what is really happening right now because everything is so blurry, because everything's moving so fast. I think it's very easy to be in this place where if you are focused on the day to day, which we all have to be at some level to make sure that we have food, if we're focused on the day to day, it becomes very exponentially hard to really make sense of the world right now. So, what I like to do on this channel is kind of take a bigger step back, have a bigger, different perspective, have a different lens to view the situation through. And the reason I think it's important to do this is because, for one, it helps us kind of have a better intuition, a better fine-tuned world model for what's actually happening. And given that different lens and this different perspective of the bigger picture, you can make better decisions based off of the tuning of your world model, and it helps you navigate actually what's happening. And on the other sense, I also think it's very cool to just kind of really understand where we are and have an appreciation for it, because we are in a transition period. There's only there's only a select few generations within all of the history of humanity that will get to experience what was life like before everything that is happening right now versus after everything that is happening right now. And we are the lucky ones within this transition period that actually gets to see both sides. There's so many previous generations that only got to experience one side, and there will be so many generations after that only get to experience what happens after everything is about to take place here. We're the chosen ones, I guess you could say, who get to see what was life like before and after these big changes that are about to occur. Now, there is a very cool side to that because we do get to see everything, but there's also like a side where you could say maybe that's not so cool because we're kind of like a transition species, you could say. So, coming to the next slide here, one of the things that we want to talk about in this video is the technological singularity. Now, we're going to talk about other things as well, but this is something that is also happening. And obviously, we have this chart here of the exponential of intelligence on Earth, and we are continuing along this exponential, and our species will be changing a little bit. Now, some people will say that AGI, this super intelligent computer thing, is going to be the next species. I'm not really in that camp. I think the super intelligent computer thing is what we use to augment ourselves as the next version of what's happening here. So whenever I said we're kind of like that transition species, what I really mean is like, you know how there's like those amphibians that, like, if we were to look at evolution, we started in water, and then we had like fish and stuff, and then those fish started to become land mammals, and in that in-between stage you had like those long lizard webbed feet amphibian things. And it's kind of a transition species where it's like it goes in water, it goes on land, but it's like in that awkward stage. That's kind of where we are right now, where we are on land and we're going to space very soon, and we are born on the land side, but we're going towards the space side, all within the same lifespan. So that's kind of where we are right now. So what I see coming out off of this exponential after Homo sapiens isn't just one singular category of one new species. I see kind of like what Michael Levin talks about. If you're not familiar with Michael Levin, he is one of the most brilliant biologists in the world right now. He basically studies the biology of diverse intelligences and cellular autonomy. Basically, how cells are actually intelligent themselves. It's not that we as humans are just one intelligence. We are a collection of intelligences. We are a collective intelligence as a species. Now, I think that is a very profound thing. I think it's very hard to replicate that, actually. I think a lot of the assumptions and philosophical assumptions we have about, like, a computer being able to do some of these things, like, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm not exactly sure. Nobody really knows. I am somewhat skeptical that it will be able to capture all of the cognitive dimensions that we have, just because we don't actually know what human intelligence is. We already have artificial intelligence and we know it's not the same. So it's likely that they kind of like continue on two vectors that are parallel but somewhat separate, and symbiosis is this kind of natural byproduct of this technology. It seems like that is just an inevitable trajectory, to me at least. I think symbiosis is just like the only logical conclusion for artificial intelligence in humanity, and I guess you could say that is like the next species or whatever. But to me, I think we're going to see like diverse intelligences where humans are going to have the ability to change the way they think, change the intelligence that they have, however they want to with this technology. And I think people are going to have like hybrid intelligences. People will have like normal intelligence that's not augmented. There's going to be the space of intelligences is broadening. I think that's all that's really happening. The space of intelligences is broadening. We're going to have natural intelligence. We're going to have AI intelligence. We're going to have augmented intelligence. We're going to have diversities of intelligence. And I think that's where we're actually going. Not that AGI is the next species and humans go extinct. I don't think that at all. So Werner Vinge is the one who actually coined the technological singularity, and he basically said that it is this hypothetical point in time where our technology surpasses us and we lose control completely, and it is now creating civilization for us in these super profound ways that is completely irreversible, and we basically lose the plot as humanity. Very skeptical of that interpretation. I think there are other interpretations, but again, Werner Vinge, I just want to mention, he is the one who actually coined the term, the technological singularity. So I guess you could say his definition is the correct one. I'm very skeptical of that actually playing out that way. In my personal interpretation, we have always been in a singularity. We are always out of control, and we have lots of evidence to back this up. We cannot actually control anything about civilization. We cannot really control anything about anything. All we can really do is guide the acceleration, guide the explosion, and kind of like make sure we don't steer in the wrong direction, and it's going to happen. We don't really have control over whether it happens or not. We could try to have control. We can try to have a one world dictatorship over all of Earth. We can try to establish something like that. I think that is the real existential crisis for humanity. The real X risk comes from having one world government totalitarian control, a totalitarian regime where people cannot actually grow. They cannot actually do the things that they want to do. They're very suppressed as humanity. And the overreachingness of that is actually the greatest existential risk that we have at all. Other than that, I think control is an illusion. I don't think we're actually going to have a one world totalitarian regime. I think it's actually very hard for somebody to capture that much power that quickly, even if they have super intelligent AI, just because other people will also have very powerful AIs. So to me, the most probable outcome of the future is we kind of have a bunch of different governance network states that I will talk about later in the slides here. So this is just some evidence of the singularity that we've already been living through. As I've said, I don't see the singularity as just like this one point in time where technology just becomes like so powerful that we lose control forever and it kind of like replaces us. I don't see that at all. I think we already have proof of us living in singularities. Like if you look at the size of the world population over the past 12,000 years, it's not that we are becoming something different. We are just becoming more of what we've always been. Humans have always created tools. We have always offloaded our cognition. Look at the advent of the printing press, and in the advent of books, and in the advent of the internet, and now we have the advent of artificial intelligence. All we're doing is offloading more and more and more of our cognition onto the technologies and the tools that we create. It's not that these things are going to outpace us and accelerate without us. They can't exist without us physically. It's not that they have an embodiment of, I mean, sure, AI will help be humanoid robotic form one day and it will have like an embodiment, but it lacks the self-directing causal agency that the humans have, and it actually cannot exist without the human. That is my interpretation. People can disagree if they want. I think AI is a tool, not a species. Anyways, what I will say is this acceleration, this Cambrian explosion is just going to continue. We do not have control. We will never have control over what is actually happening, and control is an illusion. All we can do is evolve and adapt with what is happening. So again, just coming back to another example of the evidence of uncontrollable growth, we look at the GDP over time. Starting around the 1700s here, if you look at the chart on the right corner, we started to see the lift a little bit of what would be an economic singularity, where the economy was literally growing at the pace of procreation. If you look at, it looks like I removed the chart here, but I had a chart that was showing the exact parallel lines of like procreation versus GDP growth. The GDP literally grows at the rate that intelligent laborers are growing. That's as simple as it is. What is civilization? What is GDP? It is the recombination of intelligence, labor, energy, and materials, and that is all it is. It's intelligent laborers, humans, or humanoid robots, recombining energy and materials to start to scale civilization itself, and that's literally all it is. So now we are at the point where we have artificial intelligence, quantum computing, energy technologies, humanoid robotics, and any other thing that fits within those four categories that we just mentioned. We are beginning to automate those four categories with technology, which causes what you would call the singularity, where you just have this everlasting exponential. Now, again, some people will say, well, eventually we're going to like lose control along that arc. I'm very skeptical of that actually being something that happens. I think these systems will be very powerful, very robust. They're already becoming pretty powerful. But as they become more powerful, I think alignment is actually something that kind of solves itself, and we're already starting to see evidence of that. There's one hypothesis, I forget what it's called. It's like the Platonic representation hypothesis basically states that as you scale these models, and we actually are starting to see evidence of this, as you scale these models, the vector space, the vector embedding space of the information and the data of these models starts to converge on the same exact things. Literally, the models start to converge on the same exact things because the Platonic representation space of all of the data that humans have ever created, as you scale the models, it just starts to become all one thing. We just have one big model that kind of aligns itself on the same information. As long as you just keep training it and scaling it larger and larger, it just automatically aligns. That's something that I think is actually guaranteed to happen as we scale this technology, and I don't think we're going to lose control because of those types of things. So on the whole, looking backwards, I do think this is going to be a massive transition that we're going to go through. But again, looking backwards, things are going to look so unimpressively obvious, because I know so many people are like scared of the future right now. They're scared of the technology that we're building. There's like a lot of fear of the X risk and all that stuff. I genuinely think there's a lot of philosophical assumptions that we have about the technology, and just like all previous technologies we have had philosophical assumptions about. 90% of the scary things that we have assumed about technologies in the past, such as AC currents lighting every single house on fire, like Thomas Edison said, or having automobiles going over 30 miles per hour consistently with a human in them, causing autopsychosis, and everybody becomes dissociated from reality and civilization collapses. Like, these are real things that people talked about. I think those are, we have a lot of narratives just like those things today with the technologies that we're building that are likely to turn out fundamentally wrong. We have had many narratives in the past where we had plenty of data to support the narratives, and all of them have turned out fundamentally wrong. Not all of them, but a lot of the risks of the technologies have turned out wrong. So I think it's highly likely that we create relatively powerful technologies. It's probably going to be less impressive than what a lot of people are describing. And we're going to look back, and on the whole, we're just kind of like, okay, that was pretty unimpressively obvious. We had turbulence as we went through it. There were wars, there were all kinds of different things. But we look back and we realize that the only thing that really caused turbulence was human behavior itself. It wasn't really the technology. It wasn't really a lot of these different things. It was just human growing pains at all. And that's pretty much all. If we look back at the advent of the printing press in the 1400s, there was a 30-year war. Why did the 30-year war happen? Well, it wasn't that the printing press caused like this massive like existential risk. No, we look back and we look at humans as these primates, and we just kind of laugh at how stupid they were. We kind of look at like, oh my gosh, dude, you seriously got that pissed off about printing on paper and having books? Like, it's not even a powerful technology, but to them, they were worried about all these existential threats. They had a 30-year war because they were just too immature for the technology that they were developing. And that will always be the case. Anytime you have an innovative or disruptive technology, you will not be mature until the technology happens. You cannot make your species ready for the technology. You have to create the technology, and the species adapts. You have to go through this procedural process in order to grow. So I think, like, sure, we're going to have a lot of variance. There's going to be probably some wars to break out. There's going to be turbulence. But on the whole, it's just growing pains. Like, on the whole, it's just humanity learning. On the whole, we are just evolving and becoming better. On the whole, growing pains and stress are actually good because it makes you stronger. It builds resilient cultures. It makes the species last longer. On the whole, having wars isn't a good thing. I don't love war, obviously. I think war is very painful. It's very disgusting. I wish it never happened. I wish it never had to happen. But it actually does. And if you want to have progress, if you want to have growth, if you have a disruptive technology and it causes a war, it's just an unfortunate byproduct of growth. You cannot have growth if you do not have stress. It is a prerequisite. Stress is literally the only prerequisite to growth. So I understand the concerns. I understand a lot of these things. But at the end of the day, we just kind of got to grow the fuck up, mature, and realize that, okay, humanity's just kind of like being immature. We're just kind of like going through these growing pains. And on the other side of it, we're going to be better. Okay? So one of the things that's very interesting about this year, specifically 2025, is things are pretty crazy. As you can tell, like, going from 2023, things were pretty chill. I mean, sure, things were happening in the world. To some people, if you're really, really diving through the weeds, it was probably pretty intense. 2024, pretty chill still compared to 2025. Now we're at 2025, and things are happening all the time. History is happening weekly. Soon it'll be happening daily. AI is making leaps monthly. Soon it'll be happening weekly. Sam Altman predicts we will start to see new scientific breakthroughs from artificial intelligence in 2026. Elon Musk says we are at the beginning of the artificial intelligence Big Bang. Sam Altman said basically the same thing. We are in the gentle singularity. We're past the event horizon. Elon said we're past the event horizon. Dario is very worried about a lot of things. I'm not a big fan of Dario per se, but nonetheless, I think everybody's opinion should be included. So really, things are going to get nuttier from here. We are accelerating faster. I think the next 2 years will move faster than the past 2 years. The past 2 years. And on the whole, again, we are just kind of like maturing as a species. We're just kind of like experiencing growing pains. We're just kind of like adapting with this new thing that has been brought into the world. And there's going to be a lot of misconceptions about the thing, especially since it's the thing about artificial intelligence that makes it so interesting is that it is completely adjacent to the biggest philosophical questions humanity has ever had. Like, what is intelligence, what is consciousness, where did we all come from, like how does something intelligent come into the world. Artificial intelligence is completely adjacent to all of the biggest fundamental questions humanity has ever had. And because of that, we have so many different philosophical questions or assumptions about the technology that are very, very out there. And a lot of them might not actually come true. We need to be very open and honest about that and say a lot of our assumptions here about these things we know nothing about are likely to not come true. But I do think on the whole, the technology will be very capable at information processing. I think we'll be able to apply that information processing to a variety of different things. We already see it being applied to agentic software engineering. We already see it being applied to a bunch of other different things. To me, artificial intelligence is just going to be a very, very capable optimizer. And I think that's kind of like what the technology is fundamentally. It's a very capable optimizer, and if you build system correctly, you can have an optimizer that can optimize things for an indefinite period of time, or you'll have an optimizer that can optimize things for weeks, and then it starts to hit like entropy and decay, and then you have to go in and refix the system. And I think that's kind of going to be how it is for at least a very long time. And maybe we do eventually get to the point where the optimizer is like self-correcting. I do think that'll actually happen. And at that point, I mean, things are going to be pretty cool. So really, one of the big things that's happening, as we mentioned earlier, whenever we looked at the second slide here, humanity is kind of changing right now. The human condition is changing. What it means to be human is changing. The type of intelligence that we have is changing. We're kind of, as we mentioned, a transition species, which can be awkward, but that's where we are, and all we can really do is adapt, right? All we can really do is go through this and just kind of like stay together. We got to stay hunkered down as a community. We got to stay really tight together. We got to stay close knitted. And if we stay together as a community and we really go through this together, I think we can actually get through just fine. I think we can actually be very, very well off if we go through this as a community and we stay really close together and we make sure that we are helping each other is the big thing. I really do think the future is going to be, well, first there's going to be high variance in the near term, the medium term, and then afterwards it's going to be pretty amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I do think it's very important that we actually take this stuff seriously as we're going through it. And I'm not trying to be like pessimistic. I'm like the most optimistic person ever about the future, but I do think there are certain times where you do have to hunker down and take things seriously, and I think that's part of the fun of life, right? Like if everything was just fun all the time, if everything was just la-di-da all the time, it actually wouldn't be fun in a very short period of time from then. You need to have the yings and the yangs in life if you want it to be fun. If the roller coaster didn't have ups and downs, I wouldn't really like it that much. I would probably want to get off the roller coaster. But if my roller coaster has lots of ups and downs, I'm going to want to stay on that roller coaster as long as I can, as long as there are some smooth spots. So now we're going to start to talk about some of the technologies. Again, I've talked about different technologies on this channel a lot, but I kind of want to talk about the interpretation of these technologies a little bit differently. So we have the computing technologies, which I think that is kind of a better way to talk about artificial intelligence. It's an information technology. It's a computing technology. Saying artificial intelligence, I mean, you can say that is directionally correct, but I think partially the word intelligence for artificial intelligence is kind of a misnomer. I think you could probably call it a form of alien intelligence if you really wanted to, but we do know for sure, or at least for now, that it is fundamentally different to the type of intelligence that we have interpretations of, such as human intelligence. It's completely different than human intelligence. If we look at like the edge cases of these models, it's more so that it's a very potent computational information processing machine that can be fit through the space of problems. Which one will argue that, like, from a philosophical standpoint, like, oh, that is what human intelligence is. And whenever I look at my intelligence or human intelligence versus the AI intelligence, it's like, well, then why is the AI so bad at certain things and really good at others, and humans are really good at certain things and very bad at different things? And the AIs and the humans kind of complement each other perfectly, which is why I think symbiosis is kind of inevitable, is because the things that we complement each other on are just like blatantly obvious. The AI is really good at the computational things. The humans are really good at the instinctual things. And we have this type of different level of agency. The AI has some agency, but it's kind of different. There's like the symbiosis just seems like completely inevitable to me. So that's kind of how I view this technology of AI. It's not that it's really just like this new species. It's not this thing that operates outside of the human. It's that we are building more of what we've always been. We are becoming more of what we always are, which is tool builders that offload our cognition to our tools, and our tools allow us to do more with our personal neural network. We can focus our neural network as humans on higher leverage things while our tools do the lower leverage things. And I think that's what we're actually doing in the future. We're going to be technomancers, if you want to put an interesting word on the way to describe it. So one of the big things is energy efficient computing. Energy efficient computing like thermodynamic computing or potentially quantum computing could be on the horizon pretty soon. Photonics as well is something that's very interesting right now. The energy efficient computing is really the big thing that I'm excited about, because that means we're going to be able to run models locally. And I don't know about you, but if we are going to do this whole merge thing, like BCI stuff, I'm not sure I want to have Elon or Sam Altman or anybody having access to my personal thoughts. This seems like a lot of power for like a group of individuals to hold, and I'm not very confident in any individual holding that besides me. Let's just put it that way. Now, moving from there to the labor. So again, if we come back to the first principles of civilization itself, civilization is nothing but energy, materials, intelligence, and labor. It's nothing but intelligent laborers recombining energy and materials to create technology, which emerges civilization itself. Now we are getting to the point where we just talked about the computing technology, where it can have information processing, go out into a problem space and start to saturate it like AlphaGo did for the AlphaGo game, or the chess models do for the chess games. Now we're trying to do that within the physical world. If we look at the labor vector, that is something that causes pretty profound things, because now these things are starting to have a type of level of agency. It's not that they are completely self-determining and completely autonomous. I do think maybe we could try to engineer a system like that one day. But for now, I just think these things are going to be like, just like ChatGPT, where you query it and then it does things, right? So I think the humanoid robots will be very similar. Maybe you can set up some automations where it queries at this time every single day for this particular task. And it'll be very, very autonomous that way, but it won't have its own self-directed agency per se. So I think that's kind of how these things are going to be for at least a while, is where you talk to the humanoid and you're kind of like, you're kind of querying the humanoid, and it goes and does the thing that you query it to do. And then it comes back and it doesn't really have its own agency. It just does what you kind of prompt it to. But that's still insanely profoundly powerful, as you could imagine. And then next is biotechnology. We're going to solve diseases. I think that's pretty obvious by now. I think we're going to solve diseases probably within the decade, maybe not this decade, but like by 2035. And then longevity technologies, I think, are going to cause pretty good life extension. And then we have energy technologies, and we're going to move from there. So again, laboring technologies, AI, energy efficient compute, robotaxis, humanoid robotics. We've already talked about these things a little bit. Basically, we're going to Star Trek. I think we're just going to start with the longevity technologies. We're going to solve all of diseases. We're going to try to solve aging as good as we can. I don't think we're going to have like biological immortality. Maybe we do figure that out one day. But I think entropy is very powerful, and even if we have extremely powerful technologies, and even if science is accelerating very drastically, it's going to be very hard to hold the information in the DNA for over 200 years. I think 200 years is definitely reasonable. Beyond that, if people talk about living for 1,000 years, 5,000 years, is it possible that we do that one day? Probably. I can't say it's not. But holding the information in the cells for that extended period of time, and the genome for that extended period of time, and it not being like degenerated at all, or being defective at all over thousands of years, seems very, very, very hard to do. Do we get there one day? I can't say we won't. Let me put it that way. I can't say we won't. I just know the second law of thermodynamics is kind of like fucking powerful. So Next thing is superhuman tech. I think after we solve diseases, I think that'll actually happen pretty soon. Then we'll have the superhuman biotechnology. And this is kind of like where we go from beyond diseases, beyond health, and to augmentation, where just like it says, superhuman technology, this is kind of like transhumanism, right? Where I don't really like the name transhumanism because it's kind of like it puts a weird label, especially with all the political stuff happening today. The label of it is like almost like a misnomer again, where people will have like some interpretation of it because of the name, but it's actually something completely different. It's almost more like superhuman technology, human optimization technology, transhumanism. I mean, I guess that's the original term, but I prefer like superhuman tech or human optimization or something like that. And I think that's when we start to become more than what we are. And that's whenever we come back to this chart with the diverse intelligences. I think that's gonna emerge from here. So as you see on the chart here, from 1900 to 2000, we have literally added like 40 years to the human lifespan. It's pretty crazy stuff. 40 years to the human lifespan. I think that's probably going to continue. Another 40 years will be pretty easy, probably. Hopefully we go beyond that. I would like to live to 200. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. And then eventually people want to talk about transcendent tech. Look, I'm not going to say that's impossible. People want to chase immortality. I think this sounds pretty cool, to be honest with you. I would like to live for a very long time. I want to see the future. I want to see like what the world looks like in the year 3500 and see like what is going on. Hopefully we still exist, or hopefully life still exists on our planet. I think it will. And then I think at that point we'll probably be on different solar systems. But transcendent technology, I don't know. It's very interesting, but I wouldn't put it past people to figure it out. I think we could do it. I think we might be able to. I don't think the current philosophical trajectory is correct. I don't think a lot of the approaches right now are correct. We don't really fully know. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But I wouldn't put it past us to figure something like this out. I'll just say that much. Now, this one's interesting. This one's really interesting to me specifically. There's like a lot of different social technologies that are being developed right now. And a lot of people like are aware of them, but they don't really think about the social technologies deeply. This is probably going to be one of the more profound things that actually happens. Like we just talked about a bunch of disruptive technologies. This is going to be the one that causes massive change. Potentially, yeah. Yeah. This is going to be the one that really changes things a lot. And yeah, it's going to be weird for a long time until humans really mature and adapt with what's coming. So Balaji Srinivasan kind of puts this in an interesting way. He says, artificial intelligence is communist. Crypto technology is libertarian. The combination of the two are very potent together. I think crypto was never going to work without artificial intelligence. But now that we have artificial intelligence, crypto is a logical next step. It's kind of like artificial intelligence has been the operating system layer that we've always been waiting for. We've been trying to develop these like augmented reality technologies, these virtual reality technologies, these crypto technologies, all of these different digital world technologies. And it was never working. And I think the reason why is because we didn't have the proper computing mechanisms for it. And now we're building that proper computing mechanism of artificial intelligence that enables these different things to actually happen. So I think crypto is going to be massive. The different types of social structures, the different types of governance structures, the different types of ways of living will be very interesting. I recommend to read The Network State by Balaji Srinivasan. Um, it's very insightful for what is the next step for humanity. To put it simply, Europe succeeded Rome. The United States succeeded Great Britain. The internet will succeed the United States. And AI with crypto technology and internet technologies, information technologies, energy efficient computes, decentralized energy tech, decentralized, all of these different things. That's when you start to get some pretty interesting things happening. Where you have encrypted digital democracy, where everybody is very free, everybody has their own super powerful technologies. The way of earning money in the future isn't doing labor. The way of earning money in the future is you're literally mining energy from the universe from scratch. Like, if we were to play out a thought experiment of like, what is the logical conclusion? Where are we going with all of these technologies? What is the end game? Well, the end game is to become a type 1, type 2 level civilization on the Kardashev scale. And how do you do that? What is the best way to do that? What is the most fault tolerant system? What is the most incentive aligned system for humanity? Well, it's cardonomics. That's what I call it. Kardashev economics, where energy is the fundamental unit of economics. It's not that we're going to be trading US dollars, it's that we're going to be trading kilowatt hours or gigawatt hours, whatever. But, anyways, energy is the fundamental unit of all of these different things. It is the currency of the future, and humans will be mining energy from the universe from scratch using whatever mechanism you want. Maybe you'll have your own local fusion reactor, maybe you'll have your local solar panels, whatever technology you want to use to extract energy from the universe, you'll use, and that'll power your localized energy efficient compute, which will power your localized super powerful AI models, which will power your localized humanoid robots. And at this point, that's where we get to utopia, because everything's super decentralized, everything's very encrypted and like very safe and efficient and effective. And artificial intelligence is kind of like this algorithm that helps humanity have this encrypted digital democracy. And we live in these very decentralized and highly autonomous lives where we all have our own sovereignty, we all have our own privacy, we all have our own capabilities, we all have our own systems, we all are able to do whatever we want. We can go colonize different planets, because we probably will be at this time. We'll be probably on Mars, we'll definitely be on the moon, we'll definitely have orbital real estate. People are already building commercial space or orbital commercial space stations in orbit. These things are happening in 2025. Remind you, 2025. These things are already happening. It's not that these things are speculative. It's not that they're science fiction. Look up the company called Vast. They're the ones actually building some of these things. Obviously, everybody knows about SpaceX. There's other companies as well. There's a lot of rocket companies coming online these days. Really pay attention to this one. Really pay attention to this one. I can't stress that enough. This one's going to be huge. Now, we're going to somewhere pretty cool. I had to include a pretty sci-fi picture for this one. It's pretty beautiful. Look at that. I would love to live there. I don't know about you. Maybe not live there, but visit there for sure. I'm kind of like the person who likes to live out in the middle of nowhere and kind of like work on shit on my leisure, and then visit places like this probably once per quarter, maybe once per month, just for funsies. But I think at this point, we're going to be living in abundance. Maybe not 2045, maybe this is still a little early, maybe 2060. It's going to take a little bit for us to really adjust. But I think energy-based economy is kind of the logical conclusion. Like, what is the fundamental limiting constraint to civilization itself? It is nothing but energy itself. Cardonomics is an energy-based economy. I think kind of what I described earlier, where we all have our own decentralized energy technology, our own decentralized efficient compute, our own decentralized AI models, our own decentralized humanoid robotics, our own decentralized everything. We don't need doctors at this point. Our humanoid robots are our doctors. We have our own like med bays or whatever the fuck at our own houses. We have like our own molecular assembly 3D printers. We have all of these different things. And Superconducting smart grids will probably be here at this point, so we have an extremely efficient and effective way to actually have this energy-based economy. What is a superconducting smart grid? Well, you have your superconducting material and your smart grid reallocating that energy in the most efficient and effective way possible, which would literally explode us towards a type 1 civilization, especially if we start to incentivize the economy via Kardashev economics or Cardonomics. You would start to literally explode to a type 1 civilization. You cannot measure that explosion. It's so fast. Just because now you're incentivizing literally everybody to capture and deploy energy as fast as they can, because that is the new dimension for competition. And if you don't want to play that game, you don't have to, because all you need is a few solar panels, one local like fuser, and your AI models, your compute, your humanoid robotics, and you already are post scarce. You don't need to rely on anything. You are self dependent. You don't need anything at all. You just have food, you have water, you have your house. Everything is very cheap because we've already had the price collapse of all these different technologies automating everything. And dude, you cannot overstate the profoundness of what is happening. Humans are living over 200 years. We have the decentralization of all these technologies. The Mars colony is self-sustaining. The moon has the base. We can go and visit these things as we please. I don't think this is like 2045 is a stretch. 2060, I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. Again, everything I'm talking about at this point is extremely speculative. 90% of it's probably going to turn out wrong. But these things are possible. These things are possible. And I think it's very important that we can actually grab this future and pull it towards us. I think that's what a lot of people kind of like forget, is we can imagine this future. That's the one thing that humans have that no other species has this ability. The one ability that humans have that no other species have is the ability to imagine a future to extreme detail and make it actual, make it reality, grab it and pull it towards us. And I think it is our mission to do this. Our mission as humanity is to make this happen. Our mission as to humanity is to cause this. We can cause this. We have causal agency. There is nothing different between us and Elon, us and Sam Altman, us and whoever is a very successful entrepreneur changing the world right now. We are all just humans. The fact that humans are doing these things means we can too. So why aren't we? I'm going to end it there. Hopefully this was insightful. Hopefully it was motivating. Let's make this future fucking happen.